Good afternoon, everyone. It was morning when I started researching some of this case. But, it's taken me like 2.5 hours, and I can understand now why creators have admins, mods, and things to help them to put the case together because I've struggled and I'm not very good at organizing what should go first and what shouldn't go first. I did write out some notes saying what I was going to do and what I wasn't going to do. And unfortunately, it didn't plan out that way. So, Mackenzie Shirilla, what do you all think of her? By the way, for those that are watching me on replay, I am recording this live as of Tuesday, the 9th of June, I think it is. So if you can all take a minute to click like, subscribe, and share this to let other people know that we're here and we're covering this story. But I'm going to try and cover it. So, where do we start? I'll tell you something afterwards about some rumors I've heard, and they are rumors, my opinions only. And disclaimer, shit, I should have got that ready. Bear with me a minute, see if I can find it. Desktop. Disclaimer. If not, I have got it somewhere. Documents. It's one thing I thought about before I actually went on live. So just bear with me a minute while I try and see if I can find my disclaimer. If not, here we are. Here's one. Where's it gone? Right, here we go. It's my new one. So this content is for information and educational purposes only. All information presented is based on publicly available sources, news reports, and ongoing investigations. We do not claim any individual is guilty unless proven in the court of law. Viewer discretion is advised as some content may be disturbing. K&H Crime Lab respects all individuals involved and aims to present the case responsibly and respectfully. So I had to put that up there before I even go into this story. So if I just pop down to my notes, because I wrote some down. So before the crash, in early 2022, Mackenzie Shirilla and Dominic Russo were in a teenage relationship. Evidence later presented in court showed periods of conflict and arguments between the couple. Prosecutors argued the relationship had become strained in the weeks before the crash of July 2022. So I've heard and read that their relationship was toxic. And I've got an interview with her dad can't remember his name now, Crumbo or someone. But anyway, the way I look at it is the parents allowed Shirilla to move in with a boyfriend that was like the next house down from them or a couple doors away from them, mainly because it's been reported that weeks before the accident happened, that her mum and father were bankrupt. And I guess by piling their daughter off, who, in my opinion, was too young to, live as a couple, is so that Dominic could buy her all the things that she decides, that she wants. She's a very spoilt princess. I wouldn't really like to name her princess because, she was a very spoilt young lady. That's probably the better word to use from it. So it's like Plunder's done several videos. So please go to Plunder's YouTube page where there's text messages between Kenzie and her father, where Mackenzie will message her dad like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and say hot milk. And he'll get up if he's awake and make her hot milk. Which is ridiculous. So if she's awake, why can't she get up and make her own bloody hot milk? And then there's other messages where she's in the home with Dominic, and I presume Dominic is with her asleep, but she'll message her dad and say, I need a foot rub. Can you rub my feet? What the fuck is that about? You know, talking about expecting to be waited on hand and foot is unbelievable. And the let me come back onto StreamYard so I can see people. But if the crash was caused by this POTS theory, from what I've heard of people with the POTS, you only get affected if you're sitting down and you stand up. That's when you're affected and you pass out and your heart rate goes faster, your blood pressure drops down, and that's why you pass out. So I don't think it's that whatsoever. It's just a make-believe to make her better. And I think she probably may have done better if she decided to take it to trial rather than the bench trial. It was Mackenzie's own words that opted for bench trial, whether or not she thought she'd get away with blue murder, basically. I don't know. But I will say my theory as well, after I've read the bit about the crash. So Mackenzie and Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan remain friends and frequently spent time together. July the 31st, 2022 is when the day of the crash. 3 teenagers spent time together in Strongsville area of Ohio. Mackenzie Shirilla was driving the Toyota Camry. Approximately 5:30 a.m., the vehicle traveled down a media drive in the industrial area of Strongsville. The data showed the vehicle reached approximately 100 miles per hour. The car struck a brick building wall. Immediate aftermath, Dominic Russo, age 20, died from his injuries. And Davion Flanagan, 19, also sadly died from his injuries. Mackenzie Shirilla survived despite severe injuries. Now, I'm wondering if she only survived because apparently she was the only one wearing a seatbelt. And driving in slippers is never a good idea. And driving with drugs in your system is no good because we all know weed can affect your memory, can affect your response times. And I think her dad sticks up for her on this drug habit because he's also a weed smoker and he probably can function better with the weed than what she could. You know, everyone's reactions to having weed in their system are going to be different from each person you speak to. So with the crash report, I heard that the slipper was obviously stuck underneath the foot pedal. But I've also heard that when the police and the fire brigade people took Mackenzie out of the car, she was actually wedged, her head was wedged underneath the steering wheel, which was right by the dashboard. Now, if that's the case, and I'm not trying to stick up for her at all, I'm just trying to think of different possibilities other than the outcome we've already got. But if she was in that position, I can't see the airbag would have caused her to go in that position because the airbags are designed to like push you backwards. She may have, you know, at worst had a hit on the back of the head and maybe some broken limbs from the airbag. But they say she was wedged, and I've been trying to find this report and I can't remember where I've seen it. That she was wedged underneath the steering wheel. So if, in my opinion, if that is the case and the slipper was underneath the foot pedal, it's quite possible as she was driving, she realized her foot slipped off the pedal and her slipper came loose. So she may have asked Dom to hold on to the steering wheel while she just sort of like bends down and tries to get her slipper. That could be one reason for the accident is and why she would have been trapped underneath the steering wheel by the glove box. And then, while bending down, maybe her other foot accidentally pressed down on the accelerator, hence for the such high speed. So that's just my theory. I'm not trying to stick it up for her and that, but I like to see other evidence as well, if that could have also been a possibility that this has happened. So, and since she's been in prison, she's been a right little madam, isn't she? She's not showing any remorse at all. Now, I'll see if I can get up some things. Let me just find the file, Mackenzie. Oh, now which one do I know which is which? I should have labeled these. All files. That might be a bit better. Right, so where's that one? Return to cell. Shrilla's boyfriend. I might have to just go to the website. Here's the 991 call. If it plays. No, it's not going to play. Ouch. So bear with me. I thought this might be the case. Where did I find that now? Oh dear. Here we go. I didn't think I got rid of it. Right. So let me get my StreamYard up. This is all the pros and cons of doing a live. Like I said, I need to learn to be more organized phone calls. Here we go. Right. So the 991 call, I probably need to get ready to turn my volume down because when I'm doing the research, I put the volume up high so I don't need to wear my headphones. So this might screech out at me.
Southwest Dispatch.
Yes. Are you familiar where Progress coincides with Albion Road there in Strongsville?
Yep.
Yeah, just across the street from Progress, the building, there's a car that's smashed up against the building. I didn't go up to it because I was on my motorcycle. I didn't know if I'd get stuck, but they ran the curb. I can see they smashed the sign and hit the building. The car's crashed.
Could you tell if someone was in it?
I didn't go up to it. I was on my motorcycle.
How long ago was this?
2 minutes. I live right on Westwood. I live right down the street.
Which corner?
Okay, if you're coming from the police station and you're made a right on Pearl and went Progress, when you dead end into Albion, as you look across straight ahead of you west, you'll see the car up against the building.
So the northwest or southwest corner?
Well, it's not really. It's west. It's that big building. They're a piping company now.
Piping company?
Yeah, it used to be a Japanese company. Now it's a... And I noticed the sign was out there. They hit the sign and smashed the building. I mean, I can go back over there if needed.
That's okay, I'll find it.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, just want to leave your name and number to have them check it out?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Tom. The last name's Loss, L-O-S. And my number is 440-799-0470.
All right, we'll have them check it out. Thank you for calling.
All right. Okay.
All right,
bye.
Yeah, so that was the 911 call. Why is it still going? Pause. Now, yeah, he was good. He saw something, so he said something. But if that was me in person, I would have also gone over to where the car was just to check if there's any, bodies in there, because the chances are there is. And you never know that split second that he'd go over there and was able then to dial 911 to request the services. He could have possibly maybe saved the two boys' lives. Now, the other calls I've got, let me come off this one. This is, no, you don't necessarily need that one. Chief Weaver, Donna Fisher.
Friday, September 30, 2022.
This is Deanna.
09:11 and 24 seconds.
Hello?
Good morning, Diana. This is Detective Jesus from the police. How you
09:11
doing?
and
I'm good, how are you?
34
Good. I
seconds.
tried calling you yesterday, but I guess it was going straight to voicemail. We had the, I called like 4 or 5 times between 4 and 4:45. So I wasn't sure if there was an issue with your phone.
I don't know. My phone is on. I don't have any
09:11
calls from you.
and
So weird.
54
That's
seconds.
annoying.
Well, would it be easier if I just emailed you a few questions and at your convenience you could just answer them?
09
Yeah,
Your
I'm
schedule
fine.
seems
I'm
more
not
hectic.
04 seconds.
I'm free now if that works for you as well. So either one.
Well, I want to be accommodating to your schedule. I understand you're very busy, of course.
09:12 and
And
14
in person is always
seconds.
number one preferable. A phone is number 2, and number 3 we could just do it by email. So, given your
Friday,
kids and your work
September
situation, I'm going to let you decide that. What works for you
2022.
best?
09
right now if you prefer.
and
Okay, yeah.
24
No,
seconds.
Perfect. So what I wanted to do was just ask a couple of things to establish like how long you've known her. So if you don't mind me asking, I know who
That's
you are, but for
annoying.
the interview, I just
Seconds.
want to know, like, who are you in terms of this whole relationship?
So my name is Deanna.
09:12 and 54
In the relationship,
seconds.
I'm really not involved. I guess the only way that I would be involved is my son dated Mackenzie.
09:13
So it kind of is just like close to me because
04
I
seconds.
knew Davion, and Dominic is one of my very good friends. Her
09:13 and 14
nephew, or
seconds.
cousin, and they just lost another child in their family from a car accident. So it's just all very like close.
Yeah,
Friday,
I understand.
I'm just
September
grateful that my child
30,
wasn't in the car with her, you know?
2022.
So how do you know Mackenzie? I know you said
09:13 and
your son dated
24
her.
seconds.
Can you tell me your son's name and how long? Like, when did you meet her?
So they dated just on and off. I would say through 10th and 11th grade,
09,
maybe.
13 and
I can't exactly remember
44
if he dated a few other
seconds.
girls, and I can't really remember where they overlapped because it wasn't really super, important for dates for me for that.
09,
Because I just
13 and
when I came in last week,
54
I just
seconds.
wouldn't let them hang out as much as they wanted to together because I just didn't feel like she was a good influence on him, and I didn't agree with
09,
her parents
14
where they
and
were raising her.
04 seconds.
What was concerning? The red flags, what were they?
That she was allowed to do basically whatever she wanted. She was allowed
14
to
and 14
drink, smoke,
seconds.
do drugs. They didn't seem to.
Exactly. Mackenzie was allowed to do whatever she wanted. The parents didn't control her at all. You know, a couple of times her dad said no. I think when she was 15, she like really begged her dad to sleep over at Dom's, and he put his foot down. So, he did say no maybe once or twice. But I wanted to try and catch this one of Deanna's interview, telephone call with the police officer. But it's annoying with that backlash going on there. But we'll just plow for it.
Care if he was in the house, where he was in the house, if he was in her
Friday,
bedroom, if the door was
September
closed. And
30,
I just wasn't ready for my child to become a parent. I had him at
09,
I was pregnant at
14
16. I had him
and
at 17.
24
Yeah.
seconds.
Gotcha. So, how you said they met in 10th or 11th grade. I'm assuming
09,
that
14
was about a year and a half before they,
44 seconds.
before the crash, about a year and a half ago, 2 years
Yes,
ago.
correct. Yes.
Okay.
09, 14 and
Perfect.
54
And
seconds.
Can you describe your son's relationship with her? How were they? At least from what you've seen or what he's
09,
told you.
15 and 04
So
seconds.
they seem to have argued a lot. It seems to be an ongoing thing with maybe whoever's boyfriend
0,
she's with.
9, 15, and
But it
14
was a lot of going
seconds.
back and forth to Dominic and then him and then even his friend Joey. So there was 3 boyfriends at the time, and she was kind of bouncing between the 3
Friday,
of them, so it caused a lot of
September
friction between them.
30,
So it was more just
2022,
like arguing and him
0,
being into
9,
arguments
15,
at school.
and
Like, so it was just
24
a lot of
seconds.
friction the whole time he dated her, and then I didn't want her dating.
I have tried to see if I can get rid of that background noise, but unfortunately, if there is a way, I don't know the way to do it. So we're just going to have to put up with it for a bit.
Or him dating her, so it became more friction between me and him as well because he'd be trying to hide it and stuff like that.
Would you say the relationship
0,
was
9,
healthy?
15, and
No.
44
No.
seconds.
Mm-mm.
Okay. In terms of her, now we you know,
0,
you kind of
9,
mentioned
15,
something about the
and
alcohol,
54
possibly some
seconds.
drugs, but in terms of mental health, how did she appear to you? Did you ever threaten to hurt
0,
herself
9,
or your son?
16, and
I
0,
don't
4
know.
seconds.
I don't. Herself, maybe. She never really. I've never heard of anything of that personally myself. She just seemed very
0,
narcissistic,
9, 16,
very into
and
herself.
14
All she cared
seconds.
about was herself. You know, it didn't matter if it's somebody else's birthday. It's her birthday. You know, like even if it's not
Friday,
her birthday. You know,
To me, Shirilla reminds me of someone that's a psychopath and a sociopath. You know, like as Deanna was saying, like if it's someone's birthday, it's going to be her birthday too. So she's sort of like matching to their image and what's happening in their lives. But I'll see how long I can play this for because that background thing is really
every day
annoying
is her
me.
day. So she was just very selfish. All she cared about was
0, 9, 16,
clothing,
and
you know, name brand.
24
If you weren't name
seconds.
brand, you weren't cool. She did not like the police department. She's
Let me see if I
literally,
can put this
posted
speed
that
up a
and-
bit.
you know, was anti-police, which is crazy to me. But I mean, how are
0,
you that young
9,
and don't care about
16,
anything?
and
You can't,
44
you know, there's a
seconds.
law that
No,
you're
I
21, you have to
can't.
drink. I understood that because it always bothered me with my son. Because I'm
0,
always like
9,
pro-police
16, and
Let me
you
just
know, the
blast it
3 of
on a
them, it was
bit.
Dominic, Joey, and Tyler.
Do you know Joey's last name?
Friday,
Probest,
September
Probest, I believe.
30, 2022.
He lives off of Drake, one of those streets
0,
off of Drake
9,
Road.
20,
Okay.
and
Interesting. All right. Well,
I just
Right, so I think that's it from that one. But if you want to go on to it, I'll try and remember to put the link into the description after I've gone through this. Just want to see
Monday
if there's any other calls. A minute.
sounds
Natalie Schroeder. No. A minute. Let's go back to phone calls. Let me just stop sharing this a minute because 991. Yeah, so that's done with the phone calls, but I'll keep it up there because it might let me put it into the chat. Let me just see if I can post this in the chat as a link. Oh, there we go. So you can listen to the phone calls at your own time if you want to. So the next one I'm going to do, I can get rid of that tab now, and I can get rid of the phone calls tabs. Most that I can do is, you know, what I can do. So in August 22 and September, Strongsville police and crash reconstruction experts analysed the vehicle data recorder, the black box, GPS information, cell phone records, crash evidence. Their key findings was no evidence of braking before the impact, no attempt to steer away from the wall. The vehicle remained fully accelerated until the impact. Prosecutors argued the route taken suggested familiarity, you know, it was familiar to her with the area. So where it says no attempt to steer away from the wall and no evidence of braking, my theory is if she was trying to retrieve her slipper, then she wouldn't have her foot on the brake. So, she would have had her foot still on the accelerator. I don't know, because I'm not a car driver. I know you drive on the left-hand side and you pass the driver's side's on the left, whereas us, it's on the right. But I don't know the way the pedals goes in American cars. I should have found that out beforehand. So, I still think maybe just, it's a very small percentage that it was to do with the slipper. And I'm surprised they haven't mentioned about this slipper beforehand. So, and I know she's asked for a couple retrials and she's been refused the retrial, I don't know what it's called. My brain's gone dead. So in November 2022, grand jury indicted Mackenzie Shirilla on 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of aggravated vehicular homicide, and additional related charges. The prosecution's theory was that the crash was intentional and constituted to murder. So in August 2023, nearly a year later, Mackenzie waived her right to a jury by trial. The case was heard by Judge Nancy Russo. It's uncanny that she's got the same surname as Russo. The prosecutors argued she intentionally accelerated nearly 100 miles an hour and she never tried to even brake. And apparently, they said she drove directly towards that wall. The relationship issues does provide a motive, although it doesn't provide a motive for the other young lad, Davion. The defense's case, the defense attorneys argued Mackenzie suffered medical conditions, including POTS. That, like I said, it does affect a lot of people, but from my understanding, it only affects you if you're, say, sitting down and you go to stand up. Then you go all dizzy, your blood pressure drops to the floor, your heart rate goes sky high. So I don't think POTS is what caused the accident because she was already sat down. She may have experienced blackout or loss of consciousness. There's no direct confession or note proving intent. And they're saying the crash was just a tragic accident. Now, if it's down to my theory with the slipper and with the way the police people found her sort of like wedged underneath her steering wheel and head by the dashboard, underneath the dashboard, then that would, to me, indicate that she was trying to get a slipper, possibly. So August the 14th, Judge Nancy Russo found Mackenzie Shirilla guilty. The judge stated the crash was not an accident. The evidence showed it was a deliberate act. The speed, the lack of braking, and circumstances provide intent beyond reasonable doubt. And the judge referred to Mackenzie as hell on wheels. So August the 21st, 2023, it was sentencing time for Mackenzie Shirilla. She was sentenced to 2 concurrent life sentences, eligibility for parole after 15 years, and permanent suspension of all driving privileges. In between 2024 and this year, the defense attorneys continue challenging the conviction. Appeals focus on the sufficiency of evidence and procedural issues. The convictions remains in place. So why did the judge say it was intentional? It's because of the speed. It was nearly 100 miles per hour on impact. No braking evidence before the impact. No attempt to avoid the wall. The route and GPS evidence, relationship conflict findings, and crash reconstruction findings. So the defense argued those factors did not prove the intent, and medical record medical episode could explain the crash, but the judge ultimately concluded the prosecution had proven beyond reasonable doubt that the collision was deliberate. So, thank you for coming back to my channel, K&H Crime Lab. I do appreciate it. If ever, I've still got things to go through, so you're not alone. So if you can hit that like button and share, I would really appreciate that. Now I'm going to bring up the Mackenzie Shirilla's father speaks out on an interview. I'm not going to play the whole interview because it is like ages. Oh no, I don't want the images. Right. Make it forward.
About people, first of all. If you don't know me and you're not in my life, and how do you say anything about me? How are you judging me without knowing me? Was I lenient on some things? Yes. Was I harder on some things? Yes. I was raising my kid how I felt best at the time that I made decisions. I'm not a bad parent. I picked fights that I felt would help her, and I picked fights that I didn't want to fight with her, and I let her go, and I made her make her own decisions. And she was almost an adult. She's almost 18 at that point. My daughter was a lot like me. I learned things by doing them, and rather than being told, don't touch the stove. I had to go touch the stove to figure out that it was hot, not that I was told that it was hot. It's that kind of an analogy, I guess.
Well, that is bad because he said that he would go and touch stove even if he wasn't told it was hot. What parent would tell you not to touch the stove and not say it's because it's hot? It's like I don't know what the word is. Oh, my brain sometimes. But yeah, you wouldn't tell somebody to go and touch that stove if it's hot, So I would have turned around and said, look, don't touch the stove because it's very hot. And if you touch it, you're going to get really hurt and you'll be in a lot of pain. That's the way I would do it. I wouldn't just say, hey, you can't touch the stove. And then let someone thinking, well, she said I couldn't do this, but I'm going to do it. I don't know.
If anyone that knows us knows that we weren't doing all that. We were. I don't know. It's laughable that the people think what they think about us, and if you're not in, and I look at it this way: if you're not in my boat, then it really doesn't matter what you think as the people. I mean, anyone that doesn't know me should keep their mouth shut. Personally,
you seem very bothered by it, though, Steve.
I'm a fighter by nature, and if I no one would be happy about this. It does bother me that this is overshadowing what really is going on with my daughter and what went on during the trial and the bind-over trial and the lack of evidence. That's my problem with this. What's happening with me is just smoke and mirrors. What the stuff against my wife is smoke and mirrors. It's nonsense that has nothing to do with how the Cuyahoga County Prosecution's Office failed to prove that my daughter did this with purpose, prior calculation or intent. That's it, and then.
Well, not to jump around too much, but I will argue to you that part of the reason that the prosecution was able to make that case is because of choices by your daughter's team with what they didn't make the case.
Absolutely.
They left the THC in her system out of the equation.
Absolutely.
And certainly the prosecution didn't want to argue diminished capacity because they want the hard crime. They want the intent, and they had the data. Your counsel ostensibly picked a bench trial.
Yeah, well, no.
We'll talk about.
That's not true. What happened was, me and my wife were not allowed to be in there with her when she made that choice.
No, because they did let you in straight away she was allowed to have one phone call. So then she could have turned round and said, I want to make a phone call to my dad and I want my parents here.
I told my daughter to do a jury trial. When he asked her, she said jury trial, and he strong-armed her and told her, you're going against my best judgment, blah, blah, blah. And
Why?
Does he realize that he's talking to a lawyer? This, he's going to be proved dumb in a minute.
He felt the judge wouldn't be biased. He thought the judge who had been sitting on that bench for as many years as she had would be fair. And that's not what went on.
Why was he afraid of the jury?
He wasn't afraid of the jury. He thought the judge would be a better gauge in this for whatever reason.
Were you aware, because, after she makes the decision, you can also change the decision before the proceeding begins, that very, very, very few people in your daughter's situation choose a bench trial. And even though statistically judges convict less often, it's because the cases that they do are usually hyper technical. And my understanding of the pleadings, and the lawyer has been very quiet about their deliberation process, was they thought they could win on the data. So the judge would be a better arbiter of that. And that to me was a gross error.
My understanding, because I wasn't in the court the whole time, the lawyer kept me out of the courtroom. He was going to use me as a witness. I would hope that he looked at the evidence and saw that there was none that pointed to her being a murderer or being felonious assault. He didn't see any evidence, and I'm hoping that's what he saw. But hindsight's 20/20 now. He didn't do anything for her. In fact, at the end of this trial, he told me to throw him under the bus.
I wonder if that's in writing. Why didn't the lawyer just resign from the case? Or he could have sacked the lawyer from the case. I doubt it very much. The lawyer said, throw me underneath the bus. Come on, that's a load of shit.
The new counsel in their pleadings, at least, are arguing ineffective counsel.
Yeah,
which is common, but I think that there is a basis here that could be argued.
Yes, he didn't put any of her medical records in. He didn't put any of the text messages that would have refuted some of the prosecution's evidence. He didn't do anything other than sit there and play with his pen. And mind you, I've never been in a murder trial. This is all new to me, so I'm not really sure how to gauge it. I didn't have a whole lot of advice from anybody.
They didn't add any medical evidence because there is nothing medically wrong with Shirilla apart from these injuries that she received from the crash. And when later, I think it's maybe this interview where the mother said in the court, Mackenzie stayed in like their outbuilding or whatever it is with the for 3 months, sort of like listening to Dom's songs or her making songs about Dom and doing this and that. She's doing that because, it's easing her conscience maybe. And also she was probably told that she could leave the hospital, but she had to rest because she needs her injuries to recover. But we'll carry on with this.
But he did nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only time he did something was in the bindover trial when he was questioning the detective, and he had the detective reeling because the detective had to take a break because he was all exacerbated over it. He asked the detective at one point, "What do you think happened?" The detective's comment was, "I don't know." And I don't know why our lawyer or her lawyer didn't turn to that judge and say, motion to dismiss, because how does the guy who's finding all this evidence, all this hard evidence, not know what happened? Okay.
Did it surprise you that the bindover trial, as you're referring to it, for the people listening and watching, is the legal proceeding where you decide which court it's going to be in, juvenile or adult?
Yes,
and the decision here was made to try her as an adult. That surprised you?
Yes. Yeah. She was 17 when this happened. It was an accident. There's 4.7.
She may have been 17 when it happened, but when she was arrested, she was actually 18. I believe it was like a day after her birthday. So, she would have had her birthday in hospital, I gather.
4.74 seconds of black box information and nothing else. That's all it is. It's car information. It's non-linear car information, which doesn't say what was happening in the car, doesn't say what her state of mind was. It doesn't say what talk was going on in the car. It's nothing. They've got 4 seconds of a minute and a half drive, and that's what they based this whole on. And then miscellaneous speculation on their part. Storytelling. They set a story, and just because they said it is evidence. That's what it amounts to. You know, they like the judge's summation. She went on and on. Oh, you're hell on wheels. You picked that road. You woke those boys up. My daughter didn't do any of that.
How do you know?
It's just not true. The judge made up a story for her summation, and based on.
I had heard from the party, it was the boys that woke Shirilla up. So she would have also been driving whilst tired as well.
What the prosecution's narrative is. And none of it's in the evidence. It's just not there. There's no hard evidence that says prior content or prior calculation, intent, or purpose. It's just not there. It's not there. And my understanding is you're a lawyer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I've talked to several lawyers, and every single lawyer has said that the prosecution's case was weak. And unfortunately, in Cuyahoga County, binding over, I guess, is you need this much of maybe evidence to get it bound over. My daughter's case should have never left that juvenile court. She should have been charged with two counts of vehicular homicide, and that's it. And that's it. Simple as that.
Well, it's actually statistically, if you look it up, a couple of things. It's easy for anybody to say anything when it's not their case. Hindsight's 20/20.
Yep.
A bind over trial, most juveniles get tried as juveniles. It is the exception that they get bound over into adult court because there's a presumption that kids can be rehabilitated in a way that
a bit like that Anna Kepner case with Timothy Hudson. He's a juvenile, but he's been tried as an adult.
Adults cannot. They did not find that with your daughter. What does that mean to you?
They should have. Why they should have? There was no evidence to support the charges. There was none. The prosecution came up with that she's a dangerous society and blah blah blah, and there was no proof of that. They said that she had no remorse. They never spoke to her. I mean,
so one quick thing, and then we'll keep going about what the evidence was and why. Look, if they had brought in that she was intoxicated with the THC. If they had gone to a jury trial, if she had testified, this may have been a very different situation. However, those decisions weren't made. But just so people know, is that your wife that I'm hearing who's with you there?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, look, that's totally fine. Tell her I said hello. She is welcome to join. She's welcome to join. I didn't want to box her out, just so you know. I'm welcome if she wants to talk.
Producer. She's welcome. Sorry, I don't mean to smile or make light of this. She's my producer.
No, I get it.
She doesn't want me to say something that, okay.
She is free to say whatever she wants, however she wants. And if she wants to join, that's fine by me. I'm just putting it out there, Steve, just to explain who we're hearing. Look, we all know the phone has positives and negatives like we've never seen. You don't seem to care. Those are the suggestions about her. They sicken you. Why?
Because it's not true. She wasn't a bully. She wasn't a bully.
That's not what I've heard from old school friends and present friends. She is a bully, and she had a driving incident before the crash where she was driving somewhere and she threw her rubbish. I think it was her. Was it her? Either way, I can't remember if this other car driver was the one that threw the rubbish out or if it was Mackenzie. But knowing what Mackenzie's like, it's probably Mackenzie that threw the rubbish out. And this other car driver had, a few choice words. And she just got in a car and started driving off. And then because the car was following her, because he was going to, just give her a pep talk or whatever, saying, about throwing rubbish out, blah, blah, blah. She then calls the police while she's on the phone driving. and says that she's being followed by this guy in the car, and she doesn't know why and how scared she is. Now, also, while she was driving, I don't know if I've got that report. Might have to try and see if I can find that while something's going on. If not, Plunder has that video, because that's where I watched it from. Plunder's got the video to that. I had to think who it was I watched it from, because I've seen so many videos. It's unbelievable. But yeah, so she reported that this car was following her and almost tailgating her, and she was really scared that she was being stalked by this person she didn't know. But she didn't tell the 911 person that why the car started following her. So she wasn't truthful about that. And then while she was on the phone, the woman would say to her, do you know the registration details? What make a car is it? And she said, oh, hang a minute. She said, I think it's on my Snapchat stories. I'll have to check the video. So she's driving whilst using her mobile phone. Now, I don't know what the laws are out in other states of the country, but here in the UK, it's a serious fault to be caught with your mobile phone whilst driving. And, you know, we have undercover police officers going out in HGVs and unmarked police cars checking for drivers that are using their phone whilst driving, because that takes your concentration levels off to what you're doing. But we'll carry on.
Stuck up for herself.
But she was a bully.
She stuck up for her friends. Period. That's it. She wasn't a bully. That is just lies, and it's not. It's a lie. I can't even. It's frustrating to hear it, because I can't prove it, and you can't ask her because she's sitting in jail.
Well, look, she's welcome to come on whenever she wants.
But it's just not true. It's half of a story, or part of a story, or it's just not true. It's not completely true.
Were you aware of what was said in the documentary from the school experiences of how she was described by some people, and where do you think that came from?
I can't explain it. Look, was she an angel? No. Did she have a problem with authority sometimes? I believe when she felt she was being unjustly treated, she stuck up for herself. That's the simple fact. And the documentary, anyways, they weren't necessarily honest with us and what they were going to use and how they were going to portray us in that documentary. Some of my comments, which all my comments were true. Anything I said, I meant. But they were part of a longer dialogue. They were part more of a, it wasn't just, I just didn't spew that statement.
Yeah, but they will.
I understand.
For the reason that statement came out. Okay?
Well, this is unedited. It will air in full, just as it is, which is why I wanted to explain your wife's voice, just so people know. The documentary, something that I keep hearing, and I'll be honest, it didn't register with me when I saw the documentary. As you can see by what I'm wearing, I don't think that much about clothing. But you wore a T-shirt that said "Boom" in a documentary about a car crash.
No. Well, I wore a shirt that represented a YouTuber called Drip Drop from Crime Circus. And this guy, or this person on this YouTuber, has been supporting my daughter right almost from day one. He puts.
Yes, I have got the link to that as well, because I came across it, and they show the whole crash. Yeah, when I covered this a couple of weeks ago and I showed the crash, I had YouTube copyright me on it saying it wasn't available to view in this country or something. So my video didn't go out, and I've not mastered editing yet. I want to try and master presenting and telling stories first, and concentrate and get my members up, so then I can start dishing out gifts and special perks to my members that are, sitting with me and watching me and supporting me. So, with his attire, I've got that Crime Circus, and they do state at the beginning of it that they're 100% saying that Mackenzie is innocent. But they show the whole crash, like all the investigation of it. I think it's well over an hour long because I sat through some of it and skipped through parts. And it's a channel that I don't go on very often. But talking about clothing, it reminds me when I saw the image of his wife in the courtroom. And that now, if I had to appear in court, for whatever the reason, whether I'm the one that's being convicted of something or charged with something, or if I'm speaking up for somebody, or I'm just sitting there on the jury, or as an audience, I would make sure I dress smart. I'd probably go out and buy a trouser suit or a skirt suit just so I look a bit more respectable for the judge. But everyone's to their own.
Post up all the time saying that she's been mistreated and there was a lack of justice, there was an injustice involved, and he puts all kind of stuff out there.
Oops.
He's been an advocate for the past 3.5 years. So it was my way of saying thanks. It had nothing to do with the accident. It had nothing to do with the boy's death. And if it's me being colorblind or insensitive, that's not what I was doing. I wanted to shout out to this guy or this kid or this person saying thank you. Because this guy about 6 months after the trial, he posted 4 or 5 videos. They were interviews with the detective from Strongsville and the Flanagans and some of the friends of Dominic's and Dominic's mom and Dominic's brother. And they were not in discovery. They were not in any of the discovery. They were not there. Okay. And all of a sudden we see these interviews, and in the interviews, all of them said that she has a problem passing out, or there's a problem. She has some kind of passing out problem, and the detective ignored it. And at some point, Dom's mother says to the detective, "No one's going to see this, right?" And the detective,
I would love to not keep pausing this to speak, but unfortunately, it's like when you're trying to interrupt someone speaking when he's talking and I'm trying to talk, and I can't, don't know what you can hear, but there was no evidence that she kept on passing out. If she passed out, it's probably because she smoked too much weed, vaped on the THC vape, and that caused her to be tired. So she probably didn't pass out. She just probably fell asleep.
says, "No, I'm not putting these in evidence." That is on Crime Circus. There's 4 or 5, maybe 6 videos that were either leaked to him, or the detective put them in after the fact, thinking nobody was going to look at them because the trial was over. So,
but there was also nothing offered by counsel in the defense case in chief about your daughter having POTS in a dispositive way from a prior diagnosis.
Yes,
which made it look like an article of convenience.
I know that. I don't know why Jim McDonald did that. I have no idea. I don't know what his plan was. This lawyer.
Well, was the answer, Steve, that he did it because there is no prior proof of her having POTS?
There is prior proof. We have. I witnessed it. My wife witnessed this. She's got the medical documents we gave him had it in there. The people in those 5 interviews said something.
Do you realize, Mister, that POTS? Let me see if I can bring it up if I've got a spare tab. Let me carry on playing.
Did you give him any documents from a medical or clinician that said she is diagnosed with POTS?
Yes. And the police
from after or from before?
Before, during the bind over, Jim McDonald gave us the access to all the discovery, the discovery portals for Cuyahoga County, and my wife, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-laws, we all went through that stuff night and day.
Right.
And we found.
Here we go. Guys, I found it. So, POTS. It is what I said it was earlier, where I said at the beginning of my video on the live that it causes your heart rate to go through the roof, causes your blood pressure to drop to the floor, and you lose all body functions, and you just pass out. But it's generally brought on by standing up from a sitting position. It's a bit like having, I think it's is it vertigo or something like that? But it says here, let's share this screen with you a minute. Where's my StreamYard? But come back to him in a minute. But I just want to share you this screen. So POTS, postural tachycardia, which is to do with the heart syndrome, POTS, caused by malfunction in the autonomic nervous system, which controls involuntary body functions such as heart rate and blood pressure. In POTS, the body does not respond correctly to the changes when standing up. So you telling me that Shirilla was driving and she decided to stand up while she was driving? Don't think so. He needs to make sure he looks into all the pros and cons about the POTS syndrome. So it causes the body does not respond correctly to the changes required when standing up, leading to excessive heart rate. This can result in symptoms such as dizziness, lightheadedness, headaches, and awareness of a heartbeat. The exact cause of POTS is often unknown. It may be triggered by bacterial or viral infections such as COVID-19, pregnancy, surgery, or traumatic events. So she may have POTS now because she went through a traumatic car accident, but she definitely would not have had this before the event. Diagnosis is typically involves a 10-minute standing test or a head up tilt table test. So you lay on the table with, obviously you got your feet strapped so that you don't fall off the table, and they tilt the bed up, which then cause your blood pressure to go down. And then any treatment may include lifestyle changes, medication, and physical therapy. So that's from our sort of like in the UK, the National Health website. So shortness of breath, shaking or sweating, fainting or nearly fainting. You may also get problems with your stomach or digestion, such as feeling sick, being sick, diarrhea, constipation, bloating, and tummy pains. Headaches and problems with your eyesight, such as blurred vision or tunnel vision. Your hands and feet look purple. This may be more difficult if you have brown or black skin. Weakness and extreme tiredness, fatigue, not being able to do much exercise, and sleeping badly. Problems with thinking, memory, and concentration, brain fog. I think I got that. You may find your symptoms are worse in the morning, and they may change from day to day. So, and then the causes of the postural POTS again, being in a hot place can make your symptoms worse. Standing and sitting upright for long periods. Well, she wasn't standing and she wasn't sitting in the car for a very long time. Eating, especially when refined carbohydrates like white bread, not drinking enough fluids, drinking alcohol, which she didn't have none of that in her system, resting too much, exercise, being on your period, and stress. So, that is a load of shit, really. She did not have POTS. She's potty, yeah. I'll give her that. She is potty. Right, let me go back to StreamYard. Thanks for bearing with me, guys, with that. I had to just bring that up. I still got a lot more to go through. So, bear with me, guys.
And so we had it in the interviews that were leaked on Crime Circus weren't in there. We gave him all kind of files. The detective only got her medical records from the day of the accident forward. He never went and got from back behind. So,
and you're saying that medical records from before the date of the incident?
Absolutely.
And can you help us understand in what context did a doctor or any clinician ever diagnose your daughter with POTS, which for the audience is, again, a blood pressure related, heart related tachycardia, which can cause dizziness?
It's in here. Let me. It's in the detective's notes too. He knew about it. Posterior orthostatic tachycardia, which is
what it means is that those are fancy Greek words for that when you're in a standing position and go from sitting or vice versa.
It's not just a standing thing. It's
right.
Not just,
when there's a movement, when there's a movement in posture, orthostatic means a change from being straight. Your blood pressure can go up or down.
And if you're on weed, your blood pressure is likely to go sky high or drop low.
And give you dizziness. Yes. So there are two questions. You're saying the answer to the first one is yes, people knew she had it before this, which raises the question, then why was she allowed to drive?
You can drive with it. It's like epilepsy. She was doing things to kind of control it when things happen. Water, salt pills. But that's what was going on. We were never told. No doctor says she can't drive. It wasn't an issue.
No, because she was never diagnosed with it. And him saying that you can drive with the POTS, I'll Google that in a minute. But with epilepsy, my son has had epilepsy since he was 18 months old. He's now 29. And when he's always wanted to drive, even from a 7-year-old, he wanted to drive. And when he first got his driving license, he wasn't allowed to drive because he had had a seizure within like the last year. He was having night seizures every single week, basically, because they were tampering with his medicine to see what works and what don't. And then once he had been seizure free for 12 months, he was allowed to reapply for his driving license. So we reapplied for his driving license because he didn't have a seizure for a whole year. When he received his driving license back, he was on special conditions. And that was for 3 years. And because it's been proven in all his medical records and the tests they done that every single seizure he had was nighttime sleeping epilepsy. So, providing he didn't fall asleep at the wheel of a car, he would be fine. But they did put a curfew on him for 3 years. No driving after 11 o'clock at night and before 6 o'clock in the morning. So after 6 o'clock in the morning, I presume they thought that was reasonable time to get up if you work him. And then after the 3 years, because he's now hasn't had any seizures for 7-8 years, his driving's not been affected. So I will look into if POTS will affect your driving, but me being in the UK and him being out there, there will be different rules.
Though the prosecution turned it into something.
Well, the prosecution didn't deal with it because that's not part of their case, that this happened because of POTS, because they didn't want it to be an accident. Their case is it was intentional.
But it wasn't.
Now, when you say that with such conviction, is that because your daughter has ever explained to you or your wife that something happened in the car?
No, she does not remember. That has been her story from day one. There's no memory of it. And I'm telling you, I know my daughter does not like pain. She would never, ever hurt herself intentionally. It's just not. I know my daughter. I've known that kid all her life. I know when my daughter lies. I just know my daughter. Do you know your children? I mean, can you tell when your children are telling lies or aren't being honest with you? Look,
I'd like to think so.
Okay, well, that's how I am. I believe my daughter is painfully honest, and my wife just said she's painfully honest.
Has she ever passed out before and had no recollection of anything that happened?
Passed out and didn't remember? No. Passed out and been in an accident? Well, at least one time. Okay, I can't speak for her memory loss. I wasn't.
So she was driving once and had an episode and had a car accident?
No.
That's what you just said. You just said that. Let's go back a bit. This is really infuriating me.
This happened because of POTS, because they didn't want it to be an accident. Their case is it was intentional.
But it wasn't.
Now, when you say that with such conviction, is that because your daughter has ever explained to you or your wife that something happened in the car?
No, she does not remember. That has been her story from day one.
Get ready.
There's no memory of it. And I'm telling you, I know my daughter does not like pain. She would never, ever hurt herself intentionally. It's just not. I know my daughter. I've known that kid all her life. I know when my daughter lies. I just know my daughter. Do you know your children? I mean, can you tell when your children are telling lies or aren't being honest with you? Look,
I'd like to think so.
Okay, well, that's how I am. I believe my daughter is painfully honest, and my wife just said she's painfully honest.
Has she ever passed out before and had no recollection of anything that happened?
Passed out and didn't remember? No. Passed out and been in an accident? Well, at least one time. Okay, I can't speak for her memory loss. I wasn't.
So she was driving once and had an episode and had a car accident?
No. Oh, she'd only been driving for a year.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
Yeah, she's passed out. She's had a couple episodes here at the house. She's had them with her friends. And all her friends have said it happens at school. I mean, at Dom's house. I mean, So, I mean, it happens. And I do not know why Jim McDonald, her lawyer, didn't use it. I don't understand. I'm dumbfounded. Why?
Maybe because she wasn't officially diagnosed with it and it wasn't officially put on a medical record.
Why that lawyer chose not to do anything other than click his pen and sit at that desk.
And when you talked to him and said, "Where's the pot stuff?" What did he say?
He said, this is his word. He didn't even turn it in. He told us after one of the dates that the judge is not buying it. That was his word. The judge is not buying it. That was his. That she has a diagnosis. That was his description to me. And if I would, in my hindsight right now, if I'd have known, I would have fired him immediately. Okay. Yeah, we didn't know he didn't turn stuff into after the fact. So I mean, there's some things we didn't know. I mean, are we bad parents? No. Are we uninformed parents of a child that was on trial for murder? Yeah.
What does that mean?
She had one day for defense. He did one day and he didn't do much during her trial. I mean, it just wasn't there. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. In my opinion, this man should never be allowed in a courtroom again. I mean, it's just unfortunate that he did nothing for her. I mean, that's my opinion. That's my opinion. 2020 after this fact, what did he do? So I mean, he did nothing for her.
If there is a legitimate basis for prior knowledge and existence of a diagnosis of POTS, that should have been in the evidence, and that's something that you guys should make sure is in the appeal, because obviously the judge had every reasonable basis not to buy it because she didn't have it in front of her in a way that seemed to be demonstrated before the fact.
That is in her post-conviction appeals now. It's in the post.
Right. No, I know that because I've read the pleadings. But the other thing that the lawyer left on the table, so to speak, is the intoxication. No alcohol. Okay. THC. Yes. Limit. Tough to know. They messed with the sample. They didn't preserve it. But we all know it was in her system. It wasn't argued as diminished capacity.
That is absolutely true.
The idea of why she was taking so much drugs, this is what you get hammered for in the documentary, where you were like, yeah, I know she smoked a lot of weed. I was okay with it. Do you still feel that way?
I knew she was smoking weed. I didn't know she was making videos and in the car. That's the stuff I found out after the fact.
Do you blame yourself for your daughter's behavior?
Do I blame myself? Could I have advised her better? Sure. Do I think it would have made any difference? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't have a problem with the marijuana use. I'm sorry.
If you're in that country or whatever country you're from, if you can let me know in chat if it's legal to drive whilst having drugs in your system, because here in the UK, you will get points and fined and go to court if you get caught with like cannabis or cocaine or anything like that in your system and you are driving, you will get done for drug driving. So I can't see how he's saying it's okay for Mackenzie to smoke pot when, it might not affect him the same way as it affects her, but this man.
It's a battle that I would never win. How am I stopping her? Was I going to lock her in her room and never let her out of the room? Yeah. Was I supposed to go with her everywhere she goes? Could I take the car away? There's just so many factors that had nothing to do with it.
Again, I'm judging Steve. I'm not judging you or your wife. I don't know how much of the audience are parents, but you and I both know, as does your wife, the answer to every suggestion you just made is yes. That's what we do. I told you not to drink with your friends. You drank. Now you're not going out. Oh, you did it again. Now you can't drive. Oh, you did it again. Now you're not going anywhere for a week.
We have grounded her.
That's why parenting can suck. That's why we're not their friends.
I agree. Totally agree. I've taken her door off her room. I've taken her phone, all her electronics. I mean, this kid is not unpunished. Okay. Did we dote on our daughter? Yeah. Did I give her what I could? Yes. I gave her things I didn't get when I was a kid. That's just me being a parent. I love my kid.
Go ahead.
I love that kid. There was not a problem with her until this accident and how it got blown out of proportion and how everything now is so blown out of proportion.
You don't agree to
nothing that I'm doing or saying, nothing my wife has said, has anything to do with the prosecution not having any evidence to support their charges. That's it. Okay. It's just smoke and mirrors after the trial. Anything that, well, we're terrible parents. Oh, we entitled her. It has nothing to do. Me not caring that she was smoking marijuana with her boyfriend and her friends has nothing to do with that accident. It has nothing to do with it.
Do you think the documentary filmmakers had an agenda? Do you think that they were out?
I believe they did. I believe they misrepresented themselves when they spoke to us. I believe they came in with a set idea of who my daughter was and who we are. And I also feel though, once they started talking to us, I think we gave them other stuff to look at, but in the end, their editor and the way they produced it went against what they said to us. And the families, my understanding is the families had editing control during this documentary because they were able to view it prior to it hitting the air. And my understanding, and we weren't allowed. Yeah, we weren't allowed. So, like I said, I believe they had an agenda and they did it. And that was a mistake on our part because we believed that they wanted to be an unbiased, fair platform for us to give our story out. And if they would have used the 3 days they interviewed us stuff, I think there would have been a different light on that documentary. It would have looked different. They would have cast some more light on what the prosecution has and does not have, and the narrative that they put out is just that story.
You have what they have, and you have the narrative. We'll put that in two pieces. The first point.
Let me ask you this question before you go. What do you think they have as evidence?
Okay, here's the problem for the defense with this case. There is an unusual amount of objective data about what happened after that right turn was made and until the car struck the sign.
Actually, no, that's not true.
Steve, let me explain why I say it.
Let me explain, because I've looked at all this evidence. They got her turning on the road, the right turn, yes. Blinker, blah, 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 right?
Yes.
We agree?
Nice and slow.
Nice and slow, like a normal, okay? The road is a cut through. In Strongsville, it's a known cut through. The detectives, even in their notes, state as much. Okay, it is a cut through. Now, there is no evidence from just after the turn to 4.74 seconds prior to that car hitting that wall. There's nothing. There is absolutely zero evidence. There's no black box information. There's no cabin recorder. There's nothing. And mind you, I'm not saying Potts is the reason for it. I'm not saying the car had an issue. I'm not saying the boys did anything. I don't know. I have no idea what happened in that car. And if I don't have any idea, nobody does.
I understand. Now, the problem with that, in terms of the judge, is I don't remember anything from Mackenzie. If Mackenzie gets on the stand and remembers everything and tells any other kind of explanation for what happened in the car, this may have been different. Yeah, but her saying, I don't remember anything, is a suspicious answer to people in my business.
I think it's an honest
It
answer.
may be.
At any time, she could have said,
maybe.
Dominic attacked me in the car. Davion attacked me in the car.
That's true.
She could have done that. She could have thrown both of those kids under the bus. Okay. And I'm not saying that happened. What I'm saying is there are many possibilities that could have happened from that turn to 4.74 seconds when that black box turned on.
Yes.
And that black box information is nonlinear. It doesn't record. It records bop, 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 bop. Okay. And we had a car expert look at it, and he says, well, maybe she could break at this point. She may have broken between the 2 points. And our lawyer, or her lawyer, had that information too and chose not to use it. Again, I do not know why the lawyer chose not to use what resources and what information we did have.
Understand. I understand what you're saying. This is why I answered that they have data. Okay. You're right about the EDR. Why? That's the way an EDR works, is that after there's an impact, it keeps only that small window of data.
What happened? My understanding of what happened is the car was coming down the road at a good clip. I can't explain the speed. Nobody's going to be able to explain the speed because nobody alive other than my daughter was in that car is alive now. Okay. And again, the boy, let me say this because I'm going to get nailed for this.
Don't worry about the reaction. Worry about the authenticity of the statement. That's all that you control.
I feel for those two boys. I'm heartbroken for those two boys. And if I can give my life, like I said right from the start, I gladly give my life for those two boys to be here today. Okay. I've never been more torn during
See, here in the UK, like I said, in other countries it may be different. But it says here that yes, I put in what did I put? Does a car black box record after impact? And it comes up with, yes, most vehicles equipped with a black box event data recorder, EDR, do record data after an impact. EDRs automatically capture crucial data such as speed, brake and steering, and seatbelt status during and around a crash. They are triggered by sudden deceleration or an airbag de-employment, recording data for seconds during, before, and after the event. This data can be crucial for insurance claims and legal investigations and helping to reconstruct the circumstances of an accident. In summary, if your vehicle has an EDR and it's designed to record data after impact, providing valuable information for accident investigations. So that's what I've got on my screen.
An event. How do I feel grief and remorse and pain for the families and for the two boys? How do I do that and then feel happy for my daughter because she's alive? My daughter's lucky to be alive, and I know people are going to go, good. Okay, look, my daughter's lucky to be alive. She's lucky to be walking. She's lucky not to be a vegetable.
I agree.
Okay, she's lucky. She's the luckiest.
I agree.
And she struggles with that. But I'm torn. It's horrible. It's a gut-wrenching feeling I have every time it comes up. And that's all I've been thinking about for 4 years. And now I have to think about my daughter being unjustly charged. And then every time I open my mouth and say it and point to where it is, I get people questioning, oh, that's a lie. Oh, you're making that up. Why didn't your lawyer use it? Look, if you want to know why the lawyer didn't do it, you need to talk to the lawyer. The lawyer, in hindsight, is a terrible lawyer. And he shouldn't have it. He should not be able to practice law ever again, in my opinion, after what he did to my daughter.
I understand, and you're entitled to it. Just to close the loop on this, okay? I have a lot of experience, obviously, almost 30 years, and watching the evolution of event data recorders. That's why I say EDR. EDR is event data recorder.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Here's what she had that made it compelling about intent. And you don't have to agree with this. I don't have
I'm
to.
not going to, because I kind of feel what you're going to say, but I disagree with it because it.
Go ahead, Steve. I'm here for your answers and opinions, not my own. Go ahead. Why don't you like the assumption that all the data they had indicated a constant acceleration?
I can't explain the constant. There's a picture with her slipper on the gas pedal stuck underneath the brake. Could have been. The car has a history. Toyota's cars like that have a history of that gas pedal accelerating. Okay? Mind you, I'm not saying that's what happened. I don't know.
If that was the case, surely Toyota would have recalled all their cars and correct that. If that was the case, if they had a trouble of accelerating when not accelerating. Like I said, I'm still 50-50 whether or not she's guilty or not. The only reason that made me not going towards the guilty bit was when I saw the slipper was stuck underneath the pedal. My theory is, like I said at the beginning, if you're only catching this halfway through, is that maybe as she was driving, her foot slipped off the brake, maybe. I don't know which side your pedals are, in the car. I know in our cars, because when we drive on the right, the first one to the driver's door, I think, is accelerator. Then it's brake and clutch. I can't remember, or it's clutch and brake. I would have thought it's accelerator, brake, and clutch, because fast and slow you would want close together. But my theory is maybe after she took that corner, and because they're all talking and listening to music, maybe, and doing whatever, not properly concentrating, maybe because she was wearing slippers, her foot slipped and her foot came out of the slipper. And because the crash detectives, I've read somewhere and I cannot find it for the life of me, said that when they found Mackenzie, she was like hunched up forward underneath her steering wheel. As you can see, she's got that great big stupid fluffy thing on there, which would be a pain in the ass to drive with. But if she was crouched down and her head and shoulders are stuck because of the steering wheel, because the steering wheel's going across say like the back of her neck, that would indicate to me she was actually bending down to get her slipper. And maybe she asked Dom to hold the steering wheel while, she's like trying to get her slipper, but she would have still had her foot on the accelerator. Now, in the conscious mind, you would have said, right, pull over, stop, and sort your footwear out. But Mackenzie, obviously, with the drugs in her system, wasn't thinking straight, thinking, she's beyond any rules and regulations. And she possibly went down to get her foot slipper out from the foot from underneath the pedal, the slipper from underneath the pedal. So that may have been the reason. Now, I only came to that conclusion when I heard that the responding officer said she was stuck underneath the steering wheel. So that's what makes me think she was trying to go for the retrieval of her slipper, and instead of taking her foot off the accelerator, unconsciously knowing, she increased the acceleration. And, it don't take more than a few seconds to go from not so fast to super fast, especially if you got a high-powered car like she had. So that's my theory. But let's go back to the interview.
What I'm saying is a possibility. And if it's a possibility, how do you rule it out that it wasn't? You got that. My understanding is that the car was coming down the road at a good clip. The car was out of control at some point. The car thought it was flipping over, and the black box turned on. This is prior to the crash. This is prior to it hitting the sign or hitting the wall.
It's because the car increased in speed super fast. That's why the black box started recording. And probably from the time the airbags went off to the time it hit the wall is probably the 4.7 seconds.
The car black box turned on. The car thought it was flipping over. There was a steering wheel right to left or something.
Maybe
I don't have the right. It was the
it.
right to the left to the right, something like that. And then both side airbags deployed prior to that car hitting that sign. And I don't know if anybody knows what a side airbag explodes like. It's not like I'm in a pillow fight at a sorority house. It's not like poof. These are explosions, and then there's powder everywhere. And mind you, I'm not saying that's the cause. She wouldn't be able to see where she was going anywhere. Now, she may have. This may be a folly of things that went on. It may have been medical. It may have been the boys. It may have been. My understanding is the boys and her had taken shrooms that night, which I had no idea about after the fact. Yeah, the boys had. My understanding is the boys had shrooms in it, but it could have been anything. I just don't. I don't know. I can't say. Well, it's most certainly pots, or it's most certainly the car, or it's most certainly the boys, or there's no evidence to put a finger on it. And if you can't say that this is what happened, then how are you charging her? How are you saying? Oh, now, sorry, one more thing. In the documentary, in between the reflection videos and Tim Troop walking down the hall all handsome and stuff, he's heard saying, we looked at everything and ruled it out. So it's this. So we ruled everything out. And I'd like to know what information and what evidence they actually use to rule everything else that could have happened. So that's just him talking. That's him talking and saying, look, I'm lazy. We just want it to be murder. It's like the analogy is here. The wife dies. The husband did it. That's it. That's the analogy that's going on here.
No,
there's no evidence of why it happened. There's no evidence of why. There will never be any evidence of why. And that's the point that needs to be taken here. That black box information is about the car. I can't explain acceleration. I can't explain why the pedal was down. Could it have been the slipper stuck on the pedal? Could it have been the car? Yeah, it's just as likely as she did it on purpose. And there's no evidence of purpose. And speeding is not a precursor to murder. It's not. Sorry. It's recklessness. It's reckless. That's why it should have been vehicular homicide, or if worse, reckless vehicular homicide in the juvenile court, which is what our lawyer said it should have been. The one time that's what he said. He was dumbfounded when they bound it over.
All right, let's look at the other side, right? Because there are two sides, at least, in every trial, which is why they're so compelling. You have two invested storylines. The narrative of the why comes into the relationship between Dom and your daughter and perceived threats, et cetera. And there are other texts.
That's a lie. That's a lie. I'm going to cut you off. Sorry. I got to cut you off. That's a lie. That is a lie.
How am I lying?
It's not the right word. That is harsh. These kids fought and they broke up and they got back together. That was their MO. They weren't fighting. This wasn't a volatile relationship. They were never, ever, ever going to break up. They were talking about getting.
They were talking. The friends and that will say Dom wanted to break free from her because she was too controlling, and he told his mum that Shirilla's getting a bit too much now. And that's why when he locked her out of the apartment, he recorded it because he knew that was the right thing to do so that he's got evidence of her bratty behavior. So, the father's always going to stick up for his little princess.
Married. They were talking about a life. They were buying furniture for that house. They were making a life for themselves. Period. That's it. They weren't. No, look. This has been thrown on me. They were not breaking up, and anyone who says that Sorry, that is untrue. That is a lie. And that is a narrative that the prosecution needed to go to put my daughter in a bad light, to make it seem like she had a thing against this kid. Because if she was going to break up with this kid, she would have told my wife, and that never happened.
Okay, Steve, I'm telling you what the prosecution's case was.
Well, the prosecution's case is based on...
Dom wanted to break up with her. She wouldn't want to break up from him because he was quite wealthy and she seems to love money and drugs and everything else. So it'd be that Dom wanted to break up with her, hence why he started to record their arguments. So
lies.
All right, that's your opinion. What I'm saying is that's what the trial is for.
I think it's fact because you can't get.
Well, if it were a fact, you got to remember, I'm a lawyer, right? If it were a fact that they lied, then she would not be in prison. So it is your opinion that they lied.
Unless there's a fix or a conspiracy with Nancy Margaret Russo, who shares the same last name as
but they're not related. Steve, they're not related.
They're not blood related. There's a relationship. My understanding is that Christine Russo is in her court all the time. They have a working relationship. The Russo family's big. This is a fix.
Do you have any proof that they knew each other?
I have as much proof that it's a fix and that the judge is dirty or incompetent as they do that my daughter did this with purpose. All I have to do is say it, so it's true, right? That's what the prosecution did.
No.
Well, she's breaking. They did.
No, they have standards in two cases, right? The charging is probable cause, very low, lowest standard we have. Probable cause basically means it's a 50-50. So charging is a low bar. That's why you can indict a ham sandwich. This is not about possibility. It's about probabilities. That's what beyond a reasonable doubt means.
Well, there's a lot of reasonable doubt that was ignored.
So let's talk about why. What the judge saw, assuming the judge isn't dirty, and again, there was an appeal that was rejected, and then the Supreme Court didn't take up the case.
To me, Cuyahoga County's, like, I can't speak for an appellate court that brings up an illegal procedure in a trial, and all they do is slap the prosecutor's hand. The prosecutor illegally changed the coroner's report from accidental to homicide in between the bind over and the thing. And the appellate court brought attention to this.
I didn't want to have to record.
Don't do it again. There's so much wrong with how this was handled, how it was brought to trial.
It's compelling not to.
I'm sorry. Nobody, no lawyer, no person is ever going to make me believe that my daughter did this on purpose. Show me that evidence. And if you're going to say the black box says she did it with purpose, that is speculation.
Steve, I haven't said it because you haven't let me say anything, but that's okay. I understand why you're so upset about this, and you should be. I can't even imagine how I would be, and I got 3 kids, and they're all driving. So here's what I'm just trying to explain for the benefit of the audience to flesh out the issues. The judge was presented with evidence that the car went from a very casual turn of a corner to 100 miles an hour. There were no skid marks before a known intersection.
Oh, there is actually skid marks. There are actually skid marks.
Not in the trial record. Not in the trial record. In the trial record, they presented evidence.
It's on the body cam footage of the police.
But I'm saying that they don't see any marks. This is what the judges said, right?
Again, my take on that is that the judge had a relationship with the Russo family, and that is why that judge made her decision on day one. She did nothing but open mail and.
Steve, the problem with a trial, or the blessing of a trial, depending on how you look at it, is we only know what you can show. And what they showed was this car went from slow to very fast.
Why?
With no real turns through a sign and into a building. But that was all stated there and not countered by your case.
Again, that is why the lawyer. There, I don't know if you can see. If you can see, there's the skid marks right there. That's in the discovery, right?
Right.
That's from the body cam footage. So look, I can't explain the speed. Kids being kids, I can't explain. Was it the car, or was it the boys, or was it her? There's 4 possibilities.
But none of the data suggests anything happened with the car, and there's not even a suggestion of any real braking.
Well, you don't know that because there's no information from 4.74 seconds back to that turn.
Right, but that's a lot of time. By the way,
4 seconds. That's 100 feet or less.
But I'm saying 4 seconds. No. 4 seconds is a long time. Listen, a fat guy can run a 40-yard dash in about 4.7 seconds. You know what I'm saying? That's a long time. 4.7 seconds.
I don't know.
Going at that rate of speed of acceleration.
Not in a half a mile. Not in a half a mile road. It's not. That's
all I'm saying, Steve. Again, I'm not here to make the case. I'm here to test the case, and I'm just telling you.
And I'm arguing that your data and what you're using as data is not completely reliable.
I'm just using what was presented at trial.
I know what was presented at trial, and that's what I'm having fault with, and that's why I have fault with the lawyer. That's why we're making an appeal. That's why we'll never stop fighting this, because something is wrong. Hey, this is 4 years, and this is still going on. there's something fundamentally wrong with how my daughter was tried. And I don't care what's in the trial transcripts. I don't know what my lawyer was doing, or her lawyer, not my lawyer. I don't know what he was doing. I have no idea. It makes no sense to me. And to have a sitting judge who's been in the trial on that bench for as long as she has, not to be able to decipher fact from fiction. Okay. Her summation, everything she said, has no evidence whatsoever. There's no support in the evidence whatsoever. It's just not. In fact, there are people that even said that two things didn't happen. Okay. I don't get it. I don't get how a sitting judge who's supposed to know the law and understand the law come up with that kind of summation. This is personal. Her submission was personal. It wasn't legal. It wasn't black and white. It was personal. And the way she interrupted my wife, and my wife was pleading for my daughter's life, or pleading for my daughter. That's what a mother should do. And then have my wife vilified for saying, look, give mercy to my kid is wrong. And look, this case is wrong from top to bottom. The way they arrested her, how they arrested her, from the detective in Strongsville omitting evidence in interviews, from the prosecution making up a narrative and finding ways to make her look bad. And when all the evidence they have, any evidence, is 4.74 seconds of nonlinear black box information. That's it. And she turned on the road. That's it. That is the only evidence they have, and that is car information. Nobody was in the car. You weren't in the car. I wasn't in the car. I'm not saying this, and this. What I'm saying is something happened in that car prior to 4.74 seconds.
Remember,
and I don't know
the reason you don't know is because your daughter says she doesn't recall.
Well,
that's why we don't know. That's why we have to piece it together. Because the only person who can tell the story says there's nothing to say.
So I should go tell my daughter, hey, remember something, and say Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan.
I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not telling you to do that.
I'm hypothetically speaking here. So nobody believes my daughter. She had a femur broken. She had a fibula broken. She had broken ribs. She had lacerated spleen, liver. Both carotid arteries are damaged. She had bruises all over her face. I don't know how this kid survived. She got hit in the head. You can forget. I don't get the reasoning. Oh,
guys, because I'm really struggling sitting here with my fibromyalgia and everything else. We've been here over 1.5 hours. It may not seem long to anybody else, but it is me. And because I decided to do a live, I can't exactly pause StreamYard and the recordings and then come back and say half an hour. So I will carry on. And then afterwards, I need very much rest. But the link to the paperwork I was going to read out to you, I'm just going to post that into the chat so that you can copy and paste that into your browser and have a read of it yourself. Same as with the audio files on there. I still got one audio file to play, which I don't think I can share the link in the chat, to try and make this video a little bit shorter than I intended. But being this is a big case, I should have realized, it's going to take some time to get to the end of this recording. So in theory, I should have did it as a recording and not as a live, but it's all good and well once the horse is bolted, isn't it? But I will stay here. You will see me shifting along a few times and carrying on. But yeah, I will carry on, see if I can find that recording. But we'll carry on. I won't let you down.
It's convenient that she forgot. Well, that's the truth. I would think if my daughter meant to kill this kid prior to that accident, she would want to kill him now. And she hasn't shown any of that. For 3 months, I watched my kid cry herself to sleep, all beat up in bed, watching videos and music and pictures of this kid. For 3 months, I sat with her. Okay? The prosecution has no right saying she wasn't remorseful. There's no evidence that she wasn't.
What about the social media solicitations and what looked like she was trying to build her brand?
That she wasn't trying to build her brand. Where did that come from? That is just a fabrication and part of the narrative.
Excuse me.
She went to
Steve, I'm just pointing out what they said she was doing on social media and the DMs that they showed.
Can I say something to her?
A minute. Let me hang on, guys. I will go back a bit. Where's this file? Hang on. I got to find this case file, guys. Hang on. Let's stop. Let's stop. Then I can work out what's playing where. Right. So there's that. Because I have opened a file somewhere and I got too many screens on. So if I get rid of that page, we're getting there now, I think. No. Oh, let me see if I can play it back anyway. I don't know where it's gone. Oh, perhaps I got rid of it. Right, let's go. See if we can hear it. Will it play? Hi, Kimberly. How are you? Let me remove this and see if I can play it again. It is really gobbledygook.
Yeah, like, can I just like take my whole license away?
See, I'll play that one again because I'll have to turn up my thing. But apparently she was so say. At the moment, Kimberly, I'm really struggling. I've been sat here for 1 hour and 36 minutes. But not only have I been sat here for 1 hour and 36 minutes doing the live, I also did 2 hours researching into different things, reading things, writing notes down. So my fibromyalgia is not liking my body. But we'll try and play this, what they call Pig Latin. But it is believed that Shirilla is asking her mum, can't we just say I blacked out or I had an epileptic fit? Oh, a minute, I've got to physically put it back to the beginning.
Mom, can I say something to her? Yes.
Why is it not playing? If I turn my speaker down.
Yeah, like, can I just like take my whole license away?
So, you know, she wanted to see if her license could be taken away from her instead. But that recording of them talking in pig language, as I call it, is really, really weird. But let's... Oh, there it is again. But she's saying it so fast. But let me go back onto the video that I was doing, because, you know, it is important. I was going to try and cut bits out, but I found the whole interview is really interesting. I did increase the speed up on it. It's done by Chris Cuomo, and it, you know, this is an uncut, unedited video. And if you've only just joined, Shirilla's dad is, you know, talking to Chris, but his wife is doing the camera work, and she's also coaxing him things to say at the same time.
That was something that was involved prior. It wasn't okay. That some of that's taken out of context. It's blown out of proportion.
Too loud in my ear.
What is she supposed to dig a box or dig a hole and just hide in the hole the rest of her life after this?
No, but it was right after.
Well, what does that mean? So she's not allowed to live? She's lucky to be alive.
I'm not judging it, Steve. I'm telling you what is out there.
I don't care. Listen, I don't care.
Used for the narrative and giving you a chance to explain it or contest it. But that's the job.
But it's not true. It's not completely true.
I don't know whether or not it's true. I only know what was said. I'm asking you why it was said and what it means and why it is an indicative that she had a nonchalance right after this.
It's not nonchalance. It's life. It's life. 3 months later, okay, being that the police in the courts never took her license away, never charged her with any car, she had a job interview. So we let her drive 3 months after this thing. So we let her go to the interview, which she got the job. Because what, is she supposed to not do anything the rest of her life over this? Is she supposed to just turn away and shut up and never do a word? Listen, everything that's happened after this accident, a lot of it's been blown out of proportion. And it's unfortunate that the internet is allowed to run rampant with their nonsense. Okay, I don't care what anybody says about me. I'm a big boy. I can take anything they say. I don't care. I really don't care. Unless you're in my boat, I don't care. Sorry, say what you want, make little memes, blah, 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 go crazy. Okay. I don't care. You have fun. Okay. You're the people out there are what's making this continue on and on and on. But the problem here isn't what I did. It's not what she did after the fact. It's what the court did to her. It's what the prosecution did to her. And it's the lack of evidence that is there. Now, black box information, sure. If you got the car did this, the car did it, put the car in jail. But you have no evidence of why. And you can't just say, well, the science says she was going fast, so that's intent. That is absolute BS. Okay. And many lawyers that we've spoke to have agreed with that. I would think,
but not the appellate court and not the Supreme Court.
Oh,
listen, hold on. I came into this saying to you, Steve, listen, I didn't cover this. Okay. And I didn't because, it was a tragic circumstance, but there are lots of tragic circumstances and you got to make choices in my business.
Gotcha.
But now that I'm analyzing crimes, I gave it fresh eyes. And the fact that they didn't argue diminished capacity when she had THC in her system, the fact that they chose a bench trial, and the fact that they did not put on any significant case in chief for the defense is why the judge had the opportunity to decide as she did.
Yes, I agree with your assessment on what the lawyer did and did not do. I totally agree. Yeah, this is where our dilemma is. We need help fixing this because there was a problem here with the lawyer.
But you have new lawyers now. Why did the appellate court and the Supreme Court refuse to acknowledge all that you're saying?
My understanding is this is how it was addressed to me with the second set of lawyers that we got, that we're not going to get any relief in Cuyahoga County because that is how Cuyahoga County is. Okay, right, wrong, or whatever. I don't know why the appellate court brought to attention the illegal proceeding of changing that coroner's report, and it never did anything about it. Okay, I don't know. You have to ask them
because they didn't believe it was reversible error, meaning that they may not have followed the strict procedure of how to do it. But the findings were there.
If it would have been a jury, it would have biased the jury. If the judge wasn't already biased, it would have biased the judge. That's where the problem goes. Mind you, I don't think it would have biased the judge because I believe she was already biased before she walked in that courtroom. And she said, "I don't have a blood relation," and that's to me is all it takes. She has other relationships with that family, and that's it. And nobody's going to tell me differently. In fact, when this first happened, we had heard on the internet. Mind you, this is what I heard. Somebody sent a note, or it was posted someplace that
I'm a buff baby that can dance like a man. I can shake him
Sorry.
up, baby. I can shake him again. I'm a buff baby
What
that can
is
dance like
that?
a man. I
A
can
phone call.
It's my phone. It's a phone ring. Anyway, sorry.
That's your ringtone.
It's for a friend of mine. It's a friend. Sorry, I don't mean to smile. I'm not making light of it.
Steve, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to go through this.
But I'm going to be judged. It's not you that I'm not that I'm worried about it. It's what I say and how it's going to be taken. This will be a meme somewhere else. I'm not smiling because I find this funny. I'm not smiling, and I find this asinine that this is going on. And not that I'm talking to you. Everything that's been said and done is just unbelievable, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I just don't get it. And it's just smoke and mirrors to hide the fact that my daughter was unjustly charged. And we can argue this till you're blue in the face until someone can.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm asking you for your perspective on it. Do you believe that your daughter has any responsibility for what happened?
She was driving. As a driver in Ohio, you have responsibility. Yes, she was a driver. But if she had a heart attack, hypothetical, if she had a heart attack in that car that caused this accident,
we have a very different situation.
Well, I'm using it as an example.
It's an accident.
Okay, what if she did? What if we could prove that her POTS caused her to pass out and she seized in the car?
Then it would be an accident.
What if we can prove that either one boy or the other boy did something in the car that caused the accident?
Then she would not have the intent, or maybe not the act to trigger a charge.
What if we can prove that the car malfunctioned? This is hypothetical. I'm not.
Then it was an accident.
Okay,
and maybe there's a case against the manufacturer.
Okay, so. With those 4 things or 3 things that I brought up here, the POTS, the car, the boys, the other, okay, one of those 4 or 5 things, or a combination of several, she wouldn't be responsible. Yes, she should have been charged with vehicular homicide. She's the driver of the car. She has the responsibility as the driver. Listen, if you can prove to me that she did this with intent and purpose, then she's right where she belongs. I get it.
That's what they get from the texts where she says, I feel like killing someone. I want to bang my head against it. Dom saying that he needs space. Her saying no.
But that's not proof of intent. That is, how many have you ever said to anybody, "Oh my God, I'm going to kill you"?
Yeah, but if you say to someone, like, argument's sake, if I say to my son, if we were having an argument, say, I don't know what we would have an argument over, but me and my son, we don't argue. But if we were to have an argument And I said, oh, for God's sake, I'm going to bloody kill you. And then 2 weeks down the line, he's dead. And it's been recorded either on our cameras in the home or on mobile phone that I was going to kill him. Then, yeah, that would be classed as intent, you know. So it's just the way it is. Sometimes law screws.
Yes.
Okay. And if they died, should you be charged with murder?
Yeah.
No, but I'd have to explain it.
Okay. It's an analogy. I don't know how many times I've probably said, "Oh my God, I'm going to freaking kill you over something stupid." It doesn't mean I'm going to kill you. And
You shouldn't say
some of the
what
stuff they
you
used
don't
against her, like
mean.
the thing that happened 2 weeks before, the supposed where she threatened to crash the car, that didn't happen. She did not threaten to crash that car.
How do you know?
Because we've got text messages that state otherwise. My understanding is that they had an argument in the car. Dominic grabbed the wheel and almost caused the car to crash. So my daughter pulled over, told him to get the hell out of the car. And then there's text back and forth with Dominic's mother and my wife stating it. And I could send those to you if you'd like to see them. They're in
Sure.
Okay. I could send them to you.
They're out there.
Yeah, I know that. And that is what happened. And then we got him apologizing, this and that. So he did that. That was not my daughter. And then Christine, in the process of my daughter saying, come get your kid or she's going to call me, she sent this guy named Christopher Martin to go fetch him. In the trial, Christopher Martin perjured himself, and he said that he went to get Dominic. He was driving, and I don't know how he got from where he was living to that car to get behind them to hear her say that is a lie. What happened was they were already pulled over. Okay, Christopher Martin pulled up behind her. He says that he was on the phone with Dom. He was not on the phone with Dom because in the interview that are on Crime Circus that the detective did with Christine Russo, she says, I was on the phone with Dom until Christopher got there.
Right.
Okay. That's true. That happened. That is a fact. Okay. Christopher Martin lied. He said he pulled up while they were going. He was on the phone with Dom and he heard her say, I'm going to crash this car. Then they pulled over. She was already pulled over. And the text messages that my wife and my sister-in-laws we got off her phone and we got off my wife's phone state that. And the prosecution knew it.
The files.
Still put oh yeah. I mean, let me call him Hench because this is the felon that lives in Christine Russo's basement. Okay. So a sitting judge took the word of a 7-time felon. And our lawyer did nothing to counter it because
that's your problem.
I
you
agree.
say it now, but it didn't happen in trial.
And that's why we're arguing this. I should have been arguing this right from day one. This is where we need help. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for help because an injustice was done to my daughter. A witness perjured himself on the stand. How do I fix that? But there's no way of fixing it because I got a judge because every appeal goes back to her court. It goes back to her court and she gets to decide. And the reason she's not going to go against her because her ego, okay? And she's biased. She's either biased, she's on the take, or she's in.
Well, when you appeal, it will go to other judges. And if they order a new trial,
it goes right back to her court. So if the appellate court would have said this is going to go back to trial, it goes back to Nancy Margaret Russo's courtroom.
Right, but then you would argue that she's got to recuse herself.
Well, and we did that at this trial because of the last name. And she said,
I know, but that's not a
blood relation, which is a lie.
That's not a thing. I mean, there are a lot of people named Russo.
Yeah, but not in Cuyahoga County. They're all related. And I'm sorry, if it's not with Christine Russo, it's with somebody else that's connected to her. Look, again, I have just much proof that there's a conspiracy or a fix or a favor that they had that my daughter did this with purpose. Sorry, that's it. And if you don't want to believe it, that's fine.
No, listen, it's not about what I believe. I'm here to give you an opportunity to say what you mean and to test why you believe it. And that's what I hope you understand that I'm doing. What just came out from what came out from TMZ, where they grabbed audio from prison phone calls, where Natalie is criticizing the family of Dom's family, calling them evil. What is that about?
Let's see. For 4 years, there hasn't been a peep out of them for the most part. My understanding, there's a half sister, a Christine Russo Jr., and I don't want to talk bad about the family at all. I understand their anger. It's unfortunate.
Are you open to not being able to see this any other way because this is the love of your life?
Listen, I'm her father. I'm biased. It's my daughter. Any parent should be this way. But if you can show me actual evidence, not speculation, that my daughter did this with purpose, intent, or prior calculation, then she is right where she belongs. Now, the bind-over judge, the juvenile judge.
The intent is found by, this is what the judge said, the intent is found by the lack of her trying to do anything to avoid it and doing what caused it.
For 4 seconds in a car that was already out of control, that had side airbags going off. Yeah, that's all the information you got. We don't know. Nobody knows why. everybody keeps going back. Well, they're scientific. The car was. You don't have any evidence from 4.74
Just say
seconds
that
back
wall.
to that turn, to that first turn.
Right.
There
You
is
just disagree on what that amount of time can reveal at that rate of acceleration, which I think is a lot, and you say not enough.
Our car guy said that the car was going fast. The car thought it was flipping over. The recorder went on. The airbags went off. The car hit the sign, veered into the wall. She did not drive directly into that wall. Okay, mind you, I think she just lost whatever was going on in the car. She lost track on that road. That's what I find more believable than what the prosecution's narrative of the story was. It makes more sense to me. And we also have a medical examiner that looked at her blood work and her stuff that said so much that it was probably a medical episode with POTS. We've got that. And that was in the.
Well,
I think you had a better chance of arguing before a jury, at least, that it had something to do not with POTS, but pot, because of the THC content that she had in her blood, and arguing diminished capacity and whatever else she could relay about the events. But that's not how it went.
Well, she doesn't remember the events, so that's
what she says.
Okay, so that's what she says. So nobody knows what happened in that car. I can't make her remember. And mind you, she's never wavered in that statement. Why? If you knew you were going to jail for life, wouldn't you lie? Wouldn't you come up with at least a story? There's no witnesses. She's the only witness. Dominic Russo, Davion, Flanagan attacked me in the car. I passed out. Someone hit me.
I can't explain it, but it certainly worked against her. I'll give you that.
Absolutely, because her lawyer did nothing for her. You know, and I this is why I feel it's a conspiracy. That's why I feel she was railroaded. This is why. Look, Tim Troop and Christine Russo are friends. Christine Russo worked in the prosecutor's office. She knows that she worked there. Don't tell me there's no favors, and don't tell me there's no relationship. I'm not saying blood. I'm saying relationship. There is a friend of something with the Russo family and that judge. And she can say, I don't have a blood relationship all the time. The grand jury judge was a Russo. The bindover judge was an O'Malley. The head prosecutor's an O'Malley.
I know, but just because they have the same names doesn't mean the same thing. But I want to go back over one thing, Steve, just so it's a little clear for people, because it got a little convoluted. The text chain, and you have a lot of information and context about it. This one particular part of Dominic's mother, July 17, 2022. It starts, you know all this already, but for the audience, can you come get Dom? He just grabbed my steering wheel on the highway trying to spin out my car and hurt me. I'm scared to drive because it's raining, so I just need him to get picked up. If he doesn't get out of my car, I'm calling my dad, so please get him out. Hench is on his way. Calm down for something, for whatever. For now, please. To be honest, I can't calm down when he just tried to end my life. Then he lied to you about it. I'm not trying to diffuse for now. I'm not mad at anyone. And then the next one is, just to give everybody the record, I don't think he's capable of that. This is your daughter, I believe. When he keeps telling me to shut up and to duct tape my mouth, I don't feel safe. He is also threatening to blackmail me to my mom. He's not getting out of the car. He also blocked me, so I can't go pick up any of my belongings at his house. I hope this is a learning experience for him on what not to do to a woman, because I really don't think he knows how to treat them at all. Stop the fighting and stop lying. When he gets his things, you can get yours. And then there's one more. First of all, I'm not lying about anything. Maybe you shouldn't take his word so seriously. You don't know how he treats me behind closed doors. It's never okay to try to end somebody's life or put their hands on people. No one should touch anyone. No fighting for sure in the car. He never put his hands on you. This is the mom. You need to tell him that. He tried to end my life today and told me, do you want to die? I almost hit the wall and I could have died. And she says, and you haven't blackmailed him with the cops 100 times? This was a shitty relationship.
It was, mind you, I don't like the word volatile. They were.
That's a shitty relationship, Steve. That's what the mother of the boyfriend and your daughter.
That's a shitty moment in a relationship. That is not how the whole relationship went. That was an everyday thing. That's a fight. That's a fight amongst young kids who don't know any better. Mind you, I'm not saying it doesn't correlate to this. It doesn't mean the whole relationship was bad. I watched this kid take my daughter to dinner. I watched him come over and cook for her. He went on vacation with us. He was at all our family functions.
I've still got more things.
This kid treated my wife with respect. He treated me with respect. Now, I'm the dad, and I'm always the last one to know. I ended up having to go over to the house and get his stuff. And if I'd have known what had happened, there may have been bigger issues. But I didn't know this happened until after the accident. You know, what you just read, that back and forth. There'd be more to this, but Christine Russo lawyered up Dominic's phone so the police couldn't get anything off of it. And I don't know why she lawyered up that phone that way. And
that was Mackenzie, obviously, not your wife. That was Mackenzie and Dom's mom.
Yes, that's off of Mackenzie's phone. But there's also more with Mackenzie talking to my wife too about it.
Okay.
There's more to it. So it's Mackenzie talk. It's the text thread from Mackenzie talking to Dominic's mom, and there's a text thread of Mackenzie talking to my wife. So that the events that they used in trial didn't happen. That's Christopher Martin, aka Hench, because he gets things done, lied in court. He lied, and again, there's nothing I can do about it because the lawyer didn't do what he was supposed to do. And what am I supposed to do? Unfortunately, my daughter gets hurt by the lawyer she had. The first lawyer did nothing for her. The lawyer strong-armed her into having a bench trial over jury. How do I fix that? His bad decisions, his inability to defend her hurt my daughter. Now, the second set of lawyers, being late, either it was or it wasn't, okay, hurt my daughter. The law firm doesn't get a slap on the wrist. They don't get fined. They get away scot-free. You know who suffers? My daughter. And if that could have got in, maybe she would be free. Maybe she would have got another trial, okay? Now, you asked a question about the process of the appeal, the state level. The Ohio State Appellate Court looks at that much. They don't look at anything really. The second set of lawyers says if we're going to get any relief in this court or in the courts, it's going to be at the federal level. That's what was expressed to us. We weren't going to get anywhere in Cuyahoga County because how Cuyahoga County works, and I don't want to call them corrupt, but wink, wink. The state only looks at a few things, and in a year, and so we have to wait to get to the federal. I got to get it away from elected officials.
Read it all a bit.
And that's all I'm asking people to do. I don't want to change anybody's mind. Look, I don't want my opinion out of your mouth. I want you to go look at what I'm talking about. And if I'm telling you that the detective from Strongsville on camera, on an audio record, he says, I am not putting this in evidence. When Dominic Russo's mom says, no one's going to see this, right? To me, that's an issue. That's an issue of misconduct. That is an admission of admittance. When the lead detective who found all this evidence or the speculation or this whatever says, I don't know what happened. How do you charge somebody on I don't know what happened? You got a lead prosecutor on camera saying nobody knows what really happened. They don't know what happened. You got the prosecutor in the documentary in between his reflecting picture, his glory picture and him walking down the hall says, we ruled everything else out. I want to know how and what evidence they use to rule everything else out. They did.
I get what you're saying. And if you get habeas corpus and federal relief and they take the case, you'll have another opportunity for your lawyers to make this. But that's what the trial was for. The trial was to vet what the prosecution put up as proof.
I get it.
And why.
Well, the burden of proof is on the prosecution.
That's right.
And I'm going to say, even though my hindsight is 20/20 with Jim McDonald, the lawyer, I would hope that he looked at the evidence as a lawyer and saw there's nothing here. They don't have a case of purpose or prior.
Well, look, I'm happy to talk to him about it.
No, he won't talk to you. This is going to make him look bad and he's going to lose business.
But the only reason to go for a bench trial here is because you believe it's a technical case and that you can win on the data and that the judge will understand it in a way that a jury may not. That's the only thing that makes sense.
I wish I would have known that before it was done. I wish I would have had if I'd have known we can get that changed, I would have been all over my daughter telling her. I was surprised when it came back to me that, mind you, and I didn't find out that he argued with her or you're going against my better judgment. And this guy's a big guy. My daughter is 90 pounds, 100 pounds wet. Okay. She just turned 18. She's a kid. She's still a kid. And they have this big burly man argue with her that, it's a bad idea. I'm sorry. They would have never found 12 people to buy the prosecution's case.
Well, you're not going to know now. I mean, unless you get a retrial, because that was the decision that you guys made.
That's my problem with this. There's so many things I thought were done wrong to my daughter. I believe there's an injustice with how the lawyer acted. I believe there's an injustice how the detective omitted evidence, is on camera saying he's going to do as much. I have a problem with how the appellate court brought attention to in a legal proceeding and then did nothing about it. And the argument was it wouldn't have mattered. You don't know if it would matter unless it goes back to court. And you can't just say, well, it wouldn't have mattered. And for something to be a day late with a leap year and trial transcripts not getting there on time, that should have been taken into consideration. But again, I believe the appellate courts were just protecting one of their own. And that's my understanding of how Cuyahoga County works.
Again, you can feel any way you want. Administration of justice is about only knowing what we can show. And I'm happy to offer you the opportunity now and going forward, whatever happens next.
But they didn't show any evidence of purpose. There's none. And the evidence they did use is a lie. It's sorry. I don't know what anybody else wants me to say.
Steve, I don't want you to say anything. I wanted to give you the opportunity to say what you think and why.
And I am saying why and what. Okay.
I got it.
Okay. I'm sorry. Like I said, I get what you're doing and I appreciate it. And I appreciate that the platform for it, but it is what it is. And again, until you can show me actual evidence, then I'm not going to believe it. Her mother's not going to believe it. Her family, my friends. And if the rest of the world wants to think she's guilty and hell on wheels and blah, 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 hey, knock yourselves out. Okay. What do you want me to do?
All that matters in these situations is what the justice system says.
Man, well, the justice system
not
is
the
wrong.
people online.
No,
But Steve,
again,
I
justice
am
system's
a
wrong.
call away for whatever happens next. And
Okay.
I will do just like I did here. I know it's not comfortable to be tested on these things, but that's the job, and I'll offer the opportunity whenever you want.
I appreciate that, and and if more comes out, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. But like I said, if you want to vilify me for backing my daughter, go. Well, I can't stop you. Go crazy. Okay,
Steve, what it's going to be is what you and I just experienced here. That's what I'm putting out. Okay.
Great. Yep.
All right. Thank you for taking the opportunity. Thank your wife as well. And again, make sure she knows I wasn't boxing her out from this.
No, I know. Well, she didn't want to be on camera. We got it.
That's fine. That's fine. That's her choice. Okay.
And I appreciate your time or offering me this time. Thanks.
Steve, I'm here. You know how to get me.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, so that was his intake on that very long interview. You know, I quite like his way, of interviewing. But at the beginning or partway through, Steve was saying about Crime Circus, which what do I need to do? Share. Oh, a minute. Remove from studio. Share screens. So this is like the last one. I'm not going to go through the whole video because the whole video is, that's the wrong one, is at least an hour long. So let me come back here. Let's remove him because I forgot to remove him. Share screen. It's this one I want. Where he was saying that Mackenzie Shirilla is innocent. And, you know, they show police body cam and things like that. I will share a little bit, but I'm not doing all of it because I don't really know what Crime Circus cult is about. They do have 123.9 views on this. I don't know how much there's a channel. Oh, excuse me. So I'll go through what they say at the beginning because Steve mentioned this in the interview.
Radio. This car's split in two. Radio, there's an occupant inside. Send us a squad now. We gotta bust the window out.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is Mackenzie Shirilla. She's a teenager that was wrongfully convicted of passing away the love of her life and her friend.
Why is she
didn't
smiling
do it.
and
Demonic creatures told lies about her, and that those lies have been exposed at Crime Circus, and Mackenzie will be freed one day.
So let me just go on a bit.
Drivers, radio, the driver is breathing unconscious.
I'll carry on because when I did this a few weeks ago, YouTube sent me a message and stopped my video from going onto my platform saying that the scenes wasn't allowed to be shown in the UK. So I should just show a little bit.
What's it got you doing?
But, you know, I don't know why this YouTube channel is stating that she's innocent. You know, I still say she may be. You know, like I said, with the slipper theory, I can take these headphones off now. With the slipper theory, you know, she was wearing stupid fluffy slippers whilst driving, which is ridiculous. And, you know, like I said, maybe because her slipper was underneath the foot pedal, maybe she had bent down to pick up the slipper and she had maybe asked Dom to hold the steering wheel. And, you know, he's obviously thinking you need to move the steering wheel a little bit left, a little bit right, sort of thing, up and down. And then accidentally, maybe her other foot just pressed down further on the accelerator. That may be what happened, is because apparently they found Shirilla sort of like push forwards and underneath the steering wheel. And that, so maybe that was the theory. I don't know. If they get another retrial, that might happen. But the cost of the brick wall, if I can find my files, I downloaded loads of files, but I'm not going to go through every single one because I want to get out of here. My derriere is so sore. Do all files. Review the case. Oh, that's what I was going to talk as well. There was a GoFundMe for one for Shirilla, and there was one for the boys, and there was a GoFundMe. Let's see if I can share that image. There was GoFundMe set up for Dominic, and apparently a year after the accident, someone had vandalized his grave and burnt it down. So they didn't just vandalize it, but I've heard rumors, was this Shirilla? Did she do this before she got sent to prison? I don't know. It might not be. It just might be something totally different. Let me see if I can find the page. I knew there was something else I had to show you. Tyler's statement. I don't know where this there's grave flowers. Is that it? Let's try this one. So yeah, so this was obviously the before the fire. This was how it originally looked a year after their death. And then a year later, someone goes and burns it all, which is really, really sick. That is totally disgusting. And they raised over £4,000. And then the sister, it's not a tab I want to show, it's image file, showed how the flowers look now. I just got to find them. I did put it all in one folder, but let's have a look. New thumbnail. Scene of the accident. College maker. Davion. Grave flowers. That's one I've just shown you, I think. Let's see if there was another one. Thumbnail. Let me search it. It'll be easiest. What happened to Dominic's grave from the Shirilla case? I bet I can't find it now. Or was it Dom? Let's try. Maybe it wasn't Dom. Davion's. Must have been Davion. Davion. See if it's anything here. A minute. This is annoying me. Davion gave banned me for repairing grave. Let's see if I can find it. This is annoying me. A minute. I did write it down, so let me just go on it. Go banned me, and it was What was it? Recreate Dominic's grave site. That should bring it up. There we go. I should have did that first off, looked at my notes. So I'll just share this page with you guys. Share screen, fundraiser. So here we go. So she wanted 10K. I suppose that would have been for a headstone as well, which is understandable. They raised $4,600. And as you can see, this was like the before, and then this is afterwards, which is totally, devastating. So not right at all. So this is what she put. She goes, "Hi everyone, I'm Dominic's oldest sister. Tragically, Dom passed away on the 31st of July 2022. He was 20 years old, and our hearts were left shattered to pieces. Since then, we find comfort in keeping his gravesite and a site for everyone to come and enjoy. It started as his parents and siblings trying to hide a little dirt after his burial, then blossomed into this beautiful memorial site that keeps us working in honor of Dom. My mum tends to it every day for hours, sometimes more than once a day, whether it's printing pictures for everyone to look at, adding solar lights, adding decorations, keeping up the landscaping around it, adding, exchanging hundreds of flowers, laminating letters and pictures, finding trinkets to add, or beautiful statues, etc. For this is what we do for Dom, and it's our honor of our beloved brother and son. Friends and family leave memorabilia, notes, pictures, things that remind them of Dom. Somehow yesterday the grave was set on fire and everything burned to the ground. Nothing was salvageable except for the cement cross. Most of the items are irreplaceable, flowers and ribbon from the funeral. That is so, so sad. Letters from his nieces and nephews and friends, siblings and parents, stuffed animals, things like that cannot be replaced. The items cost us thousands of dollars, and it was cost us thousands more to replace. Most items were very expensive. We spent on flowers alone originally around $1,200 each. Solar light decoration can range up to £50 a piece. We're asking for any donation from friends or family so that we can get his grave back to how it was before the 31st of July of this year. That marks 1 year of the anniversary. Dom's grave means so much to us, words can't explain. We miss you so much in our Nucci baby. Until we meet again, love your sisters." So then she wanted to say thank you to everybody who donated. And this is what they've done with the grave now, if I can bring that up to bigger picture. So you can see it's better, more beautiful than before. They decorated the tree as well. So it is, a light shining on them. And, I believe he's looking down on them and that. So that's what I wanted to share with you. And that brings me to the end of my stream. Thankfully, after 2 hours, 13 minutes going live, and at least 2, maybe 2.5 hours before that, researching. And that, so like I said at the beginning, I can see why creators have mods and that to help them to put a show together, because it is a lot, especially a big case like this. Most of my cases are small. So, there's not too much research to go into it. But a big case like the Shirilla case is huge, and there's so many avenues and things going down. I downloaded yesterday loads of files, thousands. I don't think I downloaded them all. I spent 2 hours reading majority of the documents, but there is so much more. There is so much more, and I don't mind reading the odd document, but I'm not going to sit here reading 3 hours worth of documents. I'd rather sit here and do a 2-hour, recreating or reacting to an interview like Chris did with the father. So that makes it more credible. So like I said, if you can please click like, share and subscribe, I really appreciate it. I've still got ages to go before I'm monetized by YouTube. But when I am monetized and things, then anyone that buys a membership from me will receive it a bit cheaper because you subbed up to me from the beginning. You'll be my OGs. Hopefully I've improved on some of my story techniques to what I did when I first started out. I'm not going to go back and watch those videos, I tell you. And I'm not wearing a coat, by the way. This is a fleece. And I put it on earlier because I got really, really cold. But it is a fleece. And it's got pockets. But you could use it as an autumn coat sort of thing. But I got really cold earlier. So I thought, right, I'm going to put this fleece on and then I'm going to be nice and toasty. And I expected to get too hot, but I haven't got too hot. But I do have to take the girly O-U-T. And I will spell the word because she is sat right behind me on my bed. And she knows those words. So once again, guys, thanks for staying with me. And those watching on replay, leave in the comments what you think. I've added 2 links in there with some voice recordings. And then, what was the other one? Voice recordings. And the other bit of information I was going to sit reading to you. But I'll let you all click on that link and read it at your own leisure. So till the next one, guys, I'm out. If I do come on later, it'll be a short one and it'll be, my reaction to maybe Brian Hooker. I would love him to have a trial date. So yeah, so I may come on later, but I may not because I've been sitting down now for 4.5, 5 hours and I'm a bit in pain. So thanks guys very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to hit that like.